All right. Hello. Welcome back to Become a Calm Mama. I am your host, Darlene Childress, and today we have a very special guest. I am going to interview or just have a conversation with TJ Teams. And I'm so excited because she is a certified Enneagram educator, and she's a counselor and a teacher. And her life passion is to help people grow, as is mine as a life coach and a parenting coach. And she uses the Enneagram. So welcome, TJ, to the podcast, and tell us a little bit about the Enneagram. What is it and why do you love it?
Yeah, thanks. It's good to chat with you. I think it's a great tool for personal growth, but it's really fun to talk about it in terms of parenting because it can be so enlightening. It's a tool used for personal growth, a self-awareness tool, a tool used to improve our relationship. It's been around for over 2,000 years. It has a lot of great history and it's used in all different areas. I love it because it's really accessible. You can dive deep and study it for years, or you can just tap in a little bit and take what's useful to you to really have new eyes for your relationships.
Yeah.
The way I like to talk about it, what's been really useful for me and the people that I've been working with is thinking about as a set of binoculars that we each in life are given this unique set of binoculars. And then according to Enneagram personality theory, there's 9 basic ways of seeing the world. And within those 9, I mean, there's so much diversity. I'm not saying there's 9 kinds of people. That's insane. But just a general way of seeing things. And so when you're so for Enneagram 1, if you're a 1, you're wearing this set of 1 binoculars. And what you see, just like with binoculars, what you can see, you see it so well. You see it so clearly, and you're just like, this is important. But with binoculars, right, someone can come sneak up behind you and you don't see them. We each are seeing something very clearly, and we're also missing a lot. The invitation is celebrate what you see well. That's awesome. And be willing to be sort of open-minded and humble enough to say, hey, what am I missing? How do you see the world? What do you see well? What can you teach me? What can I teach you? So that's kind of the ground level of the way I teach it, just to get that sort of humble, compassionate kind of view. When I share my Enneagram number, it feels very personal. It's like, oh, now like what's what's hard for me,
Yes, you know how to
what
wound
trips me
me.
up. Yeah, exactly. So it has to be a very respectful space, and we never type anybody else, because the Enneagram is based on motivation, not behavior. So I can see your behavior and think, oh, you must be a whatever. But I don't know what your motivation is. You're the only one that knows that. And so just being respectful in that way also of other people.
Yeah. Well, why don't we just start with my number? It's funny because probably the way that people feel about sharing their number has to do with their number, which is funny to me.
Yes.
So my Enneagram is a 2, and I am called the helper or the befriender. And you shared in your email with everybody that my primary identity is I help others. And I remember when I first read and realized I was a 2, I found it so almost embarrassing to be a 2 because it felt like this is such a needy number. It's like, because the 2s, they want to be liked and they want to meet the needs of others. So it looks almost altruistic, but it's also, I want to, that not necessarily me, but the 2 wants to be acknowledged for being helpful. So there's like this need there. And then you write, attempt to orchestrate the people and events in their lives. For longtime listeners of the podcast, think back to the series, like perfectionism and motherhood and, lowering your standards. I have all these different areas where I'm like trying to find some freedom of hyper parenting, hyper control, perfectionism in terms of people pleasing, making sure people like me, all of that, like feeling insecure in that identity sometimes. So now I'm curious, based on what I've just shared, if you want to add anything about 2s, but also how do you see it show up as in parenting? I'm curious.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I'll just make one comment you said about being embarrassing.
Yeah.
We usually say when you find your Enneagram number, you know you found it because you think it's the worst number
Yeah.
of all the
Yeah.
numbers, because it
You
just
really
feels
want to
like,
be the other one. Yeah.
I know, you're like, oh, this is the worst one. But there's no better number than another. But there
Mhm.
is that feeling of like, oh, you just saw something inside that I've been
Mhm.
working to hide.
Mhm.
And that's kind of the tender part of it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So two, if we're just talking about twos here, the two parents can be great because they can be so warm and encouraging, because they tend to be very intuitive and relational and connected with feelings. But where that,
Wait, everyone who's listening just is laughing so hard because that
oh
is
yeah,
100%
yes,
my who I am and what I talk about. And yeah, it's very funny.
right. So
Hmm.
what what can be good as we learn about ourselves is like, I'm going to notice in my parenting, like, is my exchanges with my children very focused on relationships and feelings,
Hmm.
and how people are perceiving you. Like, are you liked? Does your teachers like you? What can
Hmm.
you do to make sure your teachers like you, or your friends? And that's an over focus. Not that
Hmm.
those things aren't important, but whatever number we are, we can tend to over focus on this binocular
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
So the warning for twos is, let your kid maybe not care about those things so much.
Hmm.
Maybe they're
Hmm.
caring about something else because
Yeah.
they see the world differently. Enneagram 2 parents can tend to micromanage their kids. They can tend to overdo for their kids
Mm-hmm.
in an effort to, quote, help.
Yeah.
Now they've sort of unintentionally maybe taught their kids that they really can't function
Hmm.
without this two parent, because the two parent knows how to help better than anybody else.
Hmm.
And so when we think about it, we're like, well, I don't mean to do that. I want to launch a kid who's totally independent and confident in their abilities to do anything. But it takes that work, that personal work, and that self-awareness to
Hmm.
go, oh, what unintentional message am I
Yeah.
sending to my kid?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the other thing to think about that I've done when I teach these parenting classes is, what are the expectations that I'm sending?
Hmm.
So for Enneagram 2 parents, it's like, I'm sending the message that being helpful is very, very important. Are you helping your teachers at school? Are you
Hmm.
offering to pass out papers? Are you
Hmm.
bringing extra snacks for your friends who maybe didn't bring their lunch? Like,
Hmm.
and again, none of this is quote good or bad. It's just noticing, oh wow, parent of a different number is, what are they teaching their kids? You know,
Hmm. Hmm. What are
what
they
are they
focusing on?
focused on?
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, so just that awareness,
Yeah,
you
it's
know.
so great. I have spent a lot of time healing, and it's funny to hear you talk about the two and the traps, right, or whatever, the the pitfalls
Hmm. Yeah.
of it, and just how much I have had to learn not to rescue. And I talk about it a lot in my
Yes.
programs and in my and I think we all rescue for different reasons in the
Hmm.
Enneagram, like
Hmm.
because maybe we're uncomfortable with our children's discomfort or things like that. But
Right.
it's really work to cultivate trust and to allow our kids to make mistakes and grow and communicate. You've got it, you can handle it. And as a
Hmm.
two parent, this might not be true for other parents who are listening, but I then have to find some other identity, like that's not in helping them, like
Yes.
or teach myself that this is helping them. So that's
Yes.
one of the sentences I have to use for myself is, this mistake or this failure or this bad grade or this whatever relationship struggle, whatever's going on with them, I need to know that I am helping them by not helping them. And I almost need to
Hmm.
like coach myself through that this is the higher purpose, the bigger picture. And it still has the word help in it, which is funny to me. It's like
Right.
I still need to calm myself by saying I'm still helping.
Yes, I know. The question is my helping?
Mm-hmm,
You
mm-hmm,
know, I'm calling it help, but for Enneagram twos, like each number has kind of a downfall. It's called in Enneagram language, it's called a passion. And for
mm-hmm.
twos, it's pride. And so I'm like, sometimes is my helping just about me looking good,
Yeah,
and being the quote best mom or best helper.
yeah,
And then my kids' needs kind of getting lost in that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's so good. It's so great. Well,
Hmm.
we can move on from me for sure.
Okay.
I have my own vulnerability hangover happening here. No, I'm just
I
teasing.
know. I know.
It's all good.
It's
Okay,
all good.
so What number should we talk about next? What are you
Well, you
interested
know
in?
what? I think what's interesting is to talk about them. And you mentioned triads. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're one of the triads, it's just a different way of grouping the numbers, is your stance. And
Mm-hmm.
so since you talked about twos,
Yeah.
ones and sixes are go together with twos in the dependent stance. So in terms of parenting, that's interesting because ones, twos, and sixes are really looking outside themselves, looking to their kids like, oh, what's happening, where other numbers are more independently minded. Not that these numbers aren't independent people. That's not what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about how we just reference ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So for ones, this is our perfectionist, which I don't love that word, but our reformer. And their binoculars are, I know how to make the world better. I know how to improve this situation. I know how to make this system function better. Like they make our world a better place in that for that. So they can help as parents do that. They can help their kids see those details that they may not see. But then the downside is they can be overly critical and very focused on these details that maybe their kids don't care about, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe at the end of the day don't really matter to anybody else but them. And so, but
I would
similar.
imagine that comes up with homework or grades or points quite a bit. The
Mhm.
one parent really kind of feeling like we need to do it all and do it almost perfectly. Like there's not a lot
Mhm.
of room for, I could see that coming up in homework and grades, particularly. Maybe
Right.
chores too. Yeah.
Yeah, chores,
Mhm.
rooms, like,
Yeah. How
and
clean
it's
they are.
not,
Mm-hmm.
the thing with Enneagram is it's so easy to flip to like behavior. So you're like, oh, so all ones are super organized, have a perfectly clean house, or a little bit
Mm-hmm.
OCD.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like a way to make the world better. So for one, that might be their health, and they're just like super
Mm-hmm.
particular about vitamins and how they eat. And for other, it might be like their car is totally clean and their house is perfect. And so it just depends. I'm here to make the world better because I can see it. I see how to
Mm-hmm.
make it better, which is,
Mm-hmm.
that's like a superpower. Like
It
each
is.
number kind of has their superpower. And for sixes, that's our loyalist, which is my favorite name for the six. They all have like a couple different names, but the
Mm-hmm.
questioner, they're very loyal, very also looking outside themselves,
Mm-hmm.
referenced outside themselves. And sixes are great parents in that they're very loyal and they're very vigilant in protecting their kids. They really are aware of like kind of scanning for potential problems, potential safety issues. They're ahead of kind of the rest of us in seeing those things, which is great. Where it can be hard for six parents is when they can commute, because they're so vigilant, they can communicate to their kids like the world's actually not a safe place,
Mm-hmm.
and you need me to be looking out for you, and you need to be looking out all the time to make sure you're okay. You need to ask a bunch of questions to make sure you know exactly what you're walking into.
Well, I wanted to say on the Enneagram 6 in the, you said that the primary identity is I do my duty. Um,
Hmm.
and so sometimes we think about them as like, being vigilant and being a little bit worried and all of that.
Hmm.
But the sixes are also like the doers, right?
Hmm.
They're the moms or the dads or whatever who will always show up for the party with the thing that they said they were going to bring. And like,
Hmm.
they are reliable.
Hmm.
And
Yes, sixes. I One thing I love about sixes is they're very group minded. It's like
mhm,
it's kind of caretaking for the group.
yeah.
So twos maybe is a little more this each individual relationship,
Mhm,
and ones are caretaking more of their environment, and sixes are caretaking more of the group. So it's safety. It's they're willing to be second in order to um, put the group ahead of them. So it's that vigilant safety thing, but it's also like their identity is so what you said, like you can count on me. I am
mhm.
loyal. Yeah.
Does it show up in parenting? Like, I know this is true of twos where I won't eat, like if there's only 7 chick nuggets, I'm definitely gonna
Hmm.
like not eat a chick nugget. I'm gonna give the kids the chick nuggets and like I'll just
Hmm.
eat something else, like whatever dirt, like almost. I mean,
Uh-huh.
I'm I've learned to assert my own needs and communicate like that I have them. um, but I'm wondering with sixes if you see that they do that too, or that is could be a behavior you see in sixes.
Yeah, it can be. Again, there's such a different flavor of each number.
In my work, when I'm helping a mom who is trying to figure out where does she fit in the family model and in like, where do my needs come in? Like, I need to sleep, and I have a toddler who will not go to bed unless I'm in the room. And like, all these disruptions. And I'm wanting to always support the child and the developmental needs. And also, like, how can we get this mama to get some sleep too? So I'm
Right.
curious if there's certain Enneagram types that have a harder time asserting their needs or communicating. I count, I matter, I need this.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Any number can do that, obviously, but this dependent stance, 1, 2, and 6 are so other oriented.
Yeah.
And I don't say that like there's no pride in that. There's good and bad of being self-oriented and being other oriented. Like,
well, I think sometimes in parenting, it's really kind of what I wanted to. I'm glad we're doing it in these stances. I think it's really interesting. I think sometimes there are moms who feel guilty because they are self-centered or, self-oriented. Then they look at the other moms who are like the super sacrificial and give up their careers, and then they judge themselves as like something's wrong with me, that I'm not this amazing self-sacrificing gooey mom. And I really always am like, no, everybody has their skills and their gifting, and it's okay. Like, how you show up, who you are in health is great for your kid. It's okay. But
yeah, for sure,
for everyone to understand that some of us are more group or others oriented, and some of us are more self oriented. And we really ought not be comparing to all the other moms in general.
Right.
But especially in this way of like, who's the better mom? And are we using martyrdom or self sacrifice to prove that? Yeah. It's a little soapboxy for me, but yeah.
No, I think that's really good. And I think that's where the Enneagram helps. It kind of levels the playing field.
Yeah.
And also for these dependent numbers of being other oriented, it's like, but why? What's the motivation? Am I just doing it to get a gold star, and I'm just doing it to prove that I'm better? Or we just talked about sixes. A lot of times sixes do that to feel secure and feel safe. Like, okay, I've locked in, everyone can count on me. So now I know when everything goes down, then they'll
have my back.
Me.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right.
So it's not the behavior as much as what's going on, what's the motivation. And what if we could, for sixes, what if we could help and caretake and be vigilant in a way that's sort of free of trying to be safe? What if we could just feel safe and whole and valuable, and then add our gifts on top of that? Like, that's the goal of the Enneagram work.
That we all have these motivations, as you say, right? Because we're seeking something outside. And if we learn to kind of create that within ourselves, we can be in a little bit less of that stressed state.
Right.
Okay, let's go to the next triad. Everyone's dying. They're all like, okay, tell me the next.
So in contrast, we have the aggressive stance.
Ooh, everyone right now is like, holy shit, that's me. And I don't want to know. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So everyone be nice to yourselves as you listen.
Aggressive stance or assertive stance is another way to say it. And also ones, twos, and sixes. Dependent stance, that's kind of a word. It's also can call the earning stance of like, I need to do this thing to earn my place or to earn my safety or my security or whatever. So 3, 7, 8 are aggressive stance. So threes are performer or achiever. They're really focused on being seen as successful. So that it's that image. How do you see me? Not just being successful, but being seen as successful.
Do you know that I got these awards? Not just I got them. Yeah.
And they're not necessarily braggy, but in their own quiet way, this is just what's important. And threes are I mean, the threes I know, like what they get done in a day is
Mhm.
amazing. Like
Yeah. Yeah. High
they just,
capacity.
that is their gift. They have a lot of energy, a lot of capacity. They tend to be really driven. And this aggressive stance is more independent. Something I love about threes is because of that independent mindset. It's like, I know I can go like do these amazing things, and they have great vision and can set amazing goals that to me are like super intimidating. Like I would never set a goal that high for myself, you know. But for threes, it's like what gets them through the day. And what a gift to the kids of threes of like, they're just like, yeah, sure, I know you can do it. You know, they're such great cheerleaders, such great encouragers. But what can be hard, where that can kind of go south for three parents, is maybe expecting things of their kids that
Mm.
maybe they aren't able to do, or not even able, just aren't interested. And we've already talked about the two. So a three parent with a two child, like that child's more focused maybe on their relationships, you know, and having really good relationships. And like, I don't have to make the honor roll, you know,
Mhm.
like I'm
Mhm.
going to do well, but like, I don't care. I don't
Mhm.
want to be on student body government. I don't want to, you know.
Mhm.
So just knowing that. But so sometimes threes can expect their kids to be like little superstars, you know, like
Mhm.
they know in themselves as a parent, I can go do all these things. And it's not, they're not necessarily all CEOs of companies, but within their world, whatever they see as successful, they're typically really good at making
Mhm.
that happen. But being careful of like, okay, how is that viewpoint affecting my children? What am I telling them is the most important thing? Because for threes, like to slow down and be
Mhm.
quote unproductive, like, but maybe we could look at rest as productive. It's hard. That curiosity is another
Mhm.
part of that, is looking at my kids and going, what can they teach me? You know, like
Mhm.
what am I in my Enneagram number? I'm missing a few things, and maybe
Right.
those things are in my kids.
Okay, good. So three,
So
that's the achiever.
yes,
What
so
else is in this aggressive stance? Yeah.
our sevens are aggressive number, and also, and the adventurer, the enthusiast. Seven parents are great at having fun,
Mhm.
great at having adventures, being spontaneous, think outside the box. They're not rigid. They're open to new ideas. They're open to adventure. They're open to, oh, wow, what do you think about that? Like possibilities. Wow, that is such a gift to
Mhm.
kids,
It's
you
so
know, because
great.
kids in general school, you know, it's pretty rigid, it's pretty, you know, cookie cutter. And so seven parents can really just open kids' eyes to what's possible, which is awesome. But what can be hard is seven parents sometimes can avoid discipline or structure because it's kind of a downer. Discipline like really puts limits on things. Sevens are known, like their identity is I'm happy, I'm fun. And one of the key struggles for sevens is sitting with sadness or sitting with boredom. And it kind of feels like if I go there, I'm just going to be stuck. And
Yeah.
sevens never want to be stuck. They just want all the options and all the open ideas. So, as parents with a kid who maybe got a super moody kid, and that's
Mhm.
just how they're wired, or maybe they're not necessarily that way, or they have a really hard time. If you're a seven parent, is your tendency to be like, it's okay, it's going to get better, or let's go get ice
Mhm.
cream,
Mhm.
or is it like, oh, that sucks, tell me
Yeah.
about it, how are
Mhm.
you feeling? So for sevens, like to sit in the junk and sit
Mhm.
even in their own sadness, their own admitting their own disappointments, that part can be really, really hard.
Yeah, it's such a barrier to this type of parenting that I'm teaching is like compassionate parenting and parenting through connection. And it really requires being comfortable with our children's discomfort, being able
Yes.
to articulate someone else's emotions because little kids don't have language for the messy insides. They don't know what to talk about it. So we want to coach them by naming emotion and saying like this looks like sadness. Are you feeling sad? Kind
Mm-hmm.
of taking what we can see on the outside and giving language to it and helping them find sort of what we do with the Enneagram. Like,
Mm-hmm.
is this what's going on inside? Yeah, for a seven parent, I mean, for everyone, it's kind of harder. But I would imagine with seven, it's very challenging for them to sit in that
Mhm.
place of discomfort.
Yeah, and they've
Mhm.
spent a lifetime kind of avoiding that. So
Yeah,
they have a
chasing
lot of
fun. Yeah.
great tools in their tool belt of how to make the sadness go away.
Uh-huh.
But, sadness and grief has a place and has
Yeah.
a goodness, and, or even anger, fear, like any of
Hmm.
these things are
Hmm.
important to connect with.
All right, sevens. Some work for you.
All right. We've all got it. So we've got our eights, which is the last part of the aggressive stance, and that's the asserter or the challenger. And so you can hear in those words, there's a strength. They value strength. They're very justice minded. They tend to be more black and white. And so eights, similar to sixes, are caring about the protection of their children.
Mhm.
But for eights, it's like, I'm going to fight and like be strong, and no one messes with my kids, like every
Mhm.
parent feels that on some level. But for eights, they're really great at supporting their kids. But again, this is this independent view of like, you're going to be awesome. Like, I have full confidence in you, versus the Enneagram 2 we talk about. No, you need me to be awesome. I'm going to micromanage and do all these things
Mhm.
for you so you can be awesome. So eights are really good at like, you got it. You're going to be a rock star and I'll support you. So they can be really intense, great visionaries of what's possible. My husband's a Enneagram 8. And when I wanted to go to grad school, I was like, no, it's going to be too much of a hassle. It's going to take forever going part-time. It's too expensive. We can't afford it. And he's like, we'll figure it out. It's like,
Mhm.
there's no limits. Like, let's think big. And the intensity of the 8, that can
Mhm.
be hard with, as a parent, that intensity can feel like anger, or can just
Mhm.
feel like too big or too intense. And so it can
Right.
alienate. This group also can have trouble with feelings. And so eights being more black and white, of course you can do it. Like, it's like just what you said, like, no, brush the dust off your feet, go do it. And it's like, but I'm sad, but I'm nervous. It's like, you can do it, get out of
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
So
Uh-huh.
feelings are kind of secondary. So for
Mhm.
eights, they've got to work a little bit harder as parents to slow down. Hey, how are you feeling? It's like, this is so
Mhm.
hard to do that. So that can be hard.
I wonder if there's a
Yeah.
fear there that like people might use their feelings as an excuse to then
Mm-hmm.
not achieve, not to push forward or achieve or whatever. And it's like
Absolutely.
3, 7, 8, right? They all kind of are focused on achievement in some way, like getting fun or getting things done
Mm-hmm.
or reaching goals or whatever it is. Feelings aren't necessarily going to be an obstacle. 3, 7, 8, they don't want to get stuck there, like get stuck in the feeling and like now we're not
Yes.
going to be able to do whatever. Yeah.
Yes, this group is really future oriented, forward
Mm-hmm.
motion, lots of energy, and
Mm-hmm.
feelings kind of just slow all that down. It confuses it. It's muddy. It's just, yeah. Their strengths are so strong without
Yeah.
having to add that in.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
takes work to bring the
Yeah.
balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so good.
So the withdrawn stance is the last one. That's fours, fives, and nines. So our 4 is the individualist or the creative. There's some different names for them, the romantic. And their main identity is sort of to be different and to be unique. So you can already see, like we talked about the 3, like successful, seeing what people think about me. And the 4 is kind of like rejecting all of that. It's like, no, I'm going to be different. I'm going to be the one that's unique, that stands out
Mhm.
separately. I'm not going to go along with the status quo. 4 parents are so great at giving the gift of creativity and imagination. 4s are really concerned with like, what does it all mean? Like life, like let's
Mhm.
just sit and talk about. And in a contrast with 7s, 4s are very comfortable with grief, sadness, disappointment, anger, like, oh yeah, let's talk about it. They're not in a hurry to get out of it.
Mhm.
And what a gift that
Mhm.
is to kids. Like, so
Yeah.
beautiful. And the willingness to be different. Like,
Mm.
oh, you want to have that bizarre weirdo career that you'll never get paid in?
Mhm.
Awesome. That sounds
Mhm. Mhm.
amazing,
Mhm. Yeah.
versus like, no, we gotta protect
How are
ourselves,
you going to
or
make money?
yeah.
where are you going to live? Like,
Yeah,
like
it's like
whatever.
we'll figure it out, man. It's cool. So that's beautiful. But for 4s, where that can get tricky is, you might have a kid that wants to fit in with a group,
Mm-hmm.
that wants to do the status quo thing, that wants to
Mm-hmm.
wear exactly what everybody else is wearing. And can I let them do that and not feel like they're not being true to themselves, or like putting my
Yeah.
own projections on them because of the binoculars that I'm seeing.
Mm-hmm.
For parents also sometimes can over focus on sad feelings. And
Yeah.
it's like, you know what, it is okay to go get ice cream. We talked about it. Let's go get ice cream. And that's
Mm-hmm.
okay. I'm not doing a disservice.
We're not supposed to stay in it for a long period of time, especially little
Mm-hmm.
kids. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
okay to shift them.
Yes. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
Tell us about fives.
Yeah. So fives are observer and our investigator. So fours are super, super heart, and
Mm-hmm.
fives are super, super head.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about because in Enneagram work, we're like body, mind, and heart. Those are
Mm-hmm.
kind of the three things we're always talking about. So the five really, what's driving them is a need to understand. I don't want to just know about this. I want to understand it. I want to know the why. And so they really pursue knowledge and
Mm-hmm.
understanding. And it's like a thirst, it's just a drive. For five parents, they can be so wise and have information on all different subjects, just, with a snap of a
Mm-hmm.
finger. And the thing I love about five parents is fives tend to be very unemotional. So when there's a problem, it's very chill. It's just like, let's solve the problem. There's very little drama. My dad's a five, and I know growing up, if I had a crisis, like if I wrecked a car, if I, whatever, it was like, I know I can call my dad, even if I'm getting punished for this thing or whatever's going to come later. In the moment, it's like, okay, let's solve the problem. There's no emotion of like, oh my
Yeah.
God, all of that. So that's a
Mm-hmm.
gift that fives give. But where it can be tricky is when they can kind of get bogged down in that information and kind of over explaining and kind of droning on where their kids are just kind of checking out,
Mm-hmm.
or also not valuing the emotions of their children
Mm-hmm.
and wanting to turn everything into a practical scenario that can be problem solved. So for all of our numbers, it's like what our gift is when it kind of gets all distorted to our weakness.
Yeah, I keep writing my notes like hyper order, hyper helper, hyper cheerleader, like almost like
Mm-hmm.
the phrasing of these are our gifts, but when we go into like a hyper vigilant state or hyper fun, or I keep
Yeah.
adding these little titles, when we're in that state, what are we not focusing on? Like
Yes.
sometimes call it like over under parenting, like I over parent in this area and maybe under parent
Yes.
here. And
Totally.
so, yeah, I can see that like we're just going to focus on the problem. We're going to get it fixed. We're going to order the new boots and we're going to get the right sizes and
Mm-hmm.
then move on. And maybe there's some emotions that came up or the child wants to process that they did wreck the car or they lost their wallet and they're sad about it. And maybe they have a little shame about it and they want to work through like, what's wrong with
Mm-hmm.
me? And we want to offer them some language of like, of course,
Mm-hmm.
you make mistakes. It's okay. There's no problem there. Yeah, it makes sense. You would feel sad. Like
Mm-hmm.
giving that coaching, but I could see
Mm-hmm.
that being really hard for five to even tap
Yeah.
into.
And if we're not doing our own work, like how are
Mm-hmm.
we gonna do that?
Yeah. If you
you
have no
know?
idea what you're feeling, you're just like, let me
Right.
get the details. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh-huh. I
Yeah.
think
And
fives are amazing in like
yeah, they are.
your plane gets delayed or canceled flight or whatever. And they're like,
Mm-hmm.
and they like get it all together. And all of a sudden you're on a new
Mm-hmm.
flight. And it's like that stuff is so amazing. But
Yes.
then when everyone is sad that they're like have to go on their vacation 3 days from now,
Mm-hmm.
I noticed my five people, they're just not present for that part. They're just a little bit like a nine, which you'll talk about in a second. They're just like
Mm-hmm.
kind of like tired now. They're gonna go take a nap now. They've got to go start dinner now, something like that.
Right. Well,
Mhm.
that's a good point you brought that up, because in introducing the withdrawn stance, what that means is they go inside
Mhm.
to get what they need. And so that
Mhm.
doesn't mean they're all introverted or antisocial or anything like that, but it's like, okay, there's a problem. I'm going to go deal with it. And then it's dealt with. Now I'm going to go back inside. The fours have this rich internal feeling, and the nines have this rich internal mind. It's like
Mhm.
the inside is a safe place.
Mhm.
And so as parents, you might notice in your kids, like, the inside is so safe for them and they need time. If something happens, they don't want to necessarily sit knee to knee with you and be like, let's cry together over it. It's like
Yeah.
that kid might need to just go in their room and just ponder and think, or go outside and just be by themselves so they can work it out inside. And some other numbers, that's like, what the heck?
Well,
Don't you
it feels
process?
like you're not doing your job, or they're rejecting you,
Right.
or you're not doing it right.
Fives are hard. Like, as a parent for fives, they tend to have lower energy because
Hmm.
they have a lot of internal time,
Hmm.
and it takes a lot for them to show up emotionally. So if a
Hmm.
five does that for you, like, that's beautiful and they love you. but but don't keep pushing.
Okay, let's talk about nines. I have a
Yeah.
nine. I know he's a nine because he's 19 and he identifies as a nine.
I
And
also have a 19-year-old nine.
yeah,
Almost 20.
it's fascinating
Hmm.
to raise a nine. So tell us about nines.
Nines are the mediator or the peacemaker, and their identity is I'm content. So it's this idea of like, whether they're actually content or not, but it's just they can give off this vibe of peace and they don't want anything to disturb their equilibrium. And so that might be a deadline. That might be someone who's hyper emotional. That might be someone who's trying to micromanage them. Like, that is very, very upsetting for nines. They want to keep that peace. But nines as parents, what is so awesome about, my favorite thing about nines, I'll say, is just their ability to be accepting and non-judgmental and
Mm-hmm.
so inclusive. It's such a beautiful trait because they, wherever their kids are coming from, whatever they're dealing with, there's just a sense of like, okay, I see you, kid. You're different, or you have all these strange friends or a mix of friends, and it's awesome. I love that about nines. It's such a gift. And nines are very good listeners without interrupting. Some numbers really love to interrupt. This dependent stance is really struggles with interrupting
Mm-hmm.
typically. Nines are really good listeners, and so that can be great as parenting. The struggle for nines is they can have trouble advocating for themselves because they tend to be just very aware of everybody else's opinions and everyone else's needs. And if theirs is really different, that disrupts that equilibrium. So getting a nine to truly express what they want, truly, no matter what, can be difficult. And so as a parent, that's kind of modeling this sort of, don't really feel too strongly about anything because it might affect somebody else. And that can be hard. The other thing for nine parents is they can be overly withdrawn because, like fives and fours, they kind of need that time
Mm-hmm.
inside. So that can be hard for nine parents, and valuing that kind of no, I have no needs. That's tricky. That's the strength gone bad kind of
Right.
for
Although I
nines.
noticed with my nine people that it's like they won't necessarily say what their needs are, but they
Mm-hmm.
will still do what they want.
Oh
Like,
yes.
it's not like I, as a two, just decide I have needs and they don't matter. And I'll just go with whatever everybody else needs. And
Mm-hmm.
I just stay, that's when I'm not feeling healthy. But what I've noticed with my nine people is that they won't they just won't go, or like they'll still do whatever it is that they're going to do, but they won't tell you that they're
Yes.
switching gears, or so they're not very accommodating, but they look like they are. Truly they're not. I don't know.
That's what's so interesting about the withdrawn stance for fives and nines.
Uh-huh.
Like the aggressive stance, they're very independent,
Mhm.
but they're non-aggressive.
Yeah.
So it's a very quiet, yeah. So
Mhm.
nines, a
Mhm.
lot of times you'll be talking to nines and they'll be like, uh-huh, yeah, yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
And you think they're agreeing with you,
Yep.
but they're not. They're just listening.
Mhm.
And then later they do something different. You're like, but I thought we talked about it. It was like, well, I listened to your opinion. I don't know that you ever asked for my opinion.
Right, right.
you
Or I didn't want
know?
to share it because it would probably make it too complicated or too much
Right.
conflict if I brought it up, so
Yeah.
I didn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Very
know.
sort of shockingly quiet independence in nines because
Yeah.
they are so chill and kind and
Mhm.
agreeable.
Mhm.
And it's like, wait a minute, what's going
Mhm.
on underneath there? So For nine parents learning, like, yes, that's such a gift, but like, how can I voice my own opinion? And that's the work for nines. How can I
Mm-hmm.
say this thing, even though it might disrupt? Well, I think it can be hard for nine parents, like not wanting to disappoint their kids because they
Mm-hmm.
want to keep that mutual positive regard. They want to keep that connection. So saying no can feel like, oh, I'm going to hurt the relationship, and it can
Mm-hmm.
feel hard. So if a kid's asking for something and you have the will see or the I'm saying maybe because I know you want me to say yes. As a parent, it's like for nines, it's like ultimately it's okay, like having that definitiveness is actually helping, like we were saying with the twos, is you're
Mm-hmm.
helping being definitive helps your kids know where they stand, what the
Mm-hmm.
expectations are, what they can count on. And I'm sure as you teach as a parenting coach, like that's so important for our kids'
Mm-hmm.
sense of safety and well-being. And so for nines, that can be hard because
Mm-hmm.
the maybe is like, everyone's still possibly super happy, but
Mm-hmm.
ultimately they're not because they just never know where they stand with you.
Ah, yeah, that's so interesting. I noticed with my 1-9 mama friend that she wouldn't tell her kids if we had plans. Like if we
Mm,
were all going to go, and she wouldn't tell them to like a minute or two before, like now we're going to pizza with the Childresses or whatever. And they'd be like,
mm,
yay. And I was like, I don't do that. I to tell them the plan. And then if it
mm,
doesn't happen, I tell them it's not happening. She's like, oh no, I don't want them to like have a big upset. Like
mm.
I'd rather them not feel the excitement and then come down from that excitement. Like it's almost like the value is just let's keep it really in the middle
Absolutely. Yeah.
and keep it really manageable, keep the emotions manageable. So we're not going to go too high, we're not going to go too low. In some ways, almost like a 7 who doesn't want to have the big feelings. And it's like, how does 9 relate to emotion? Do they avoid it or do they?
Well, this stance is called doing repressed. And so one group has trouble. So our dependent stance struggles with thinking productively, each in different ways for each
Mhm.
number. An aggressive stance feeling, and withdrawn stance is doing.
Like getting it
So
done. Yeah.
getting it done, seeing
Mm-hmm.
it through, making the
Mm-hmm.
decision,
Mm-hmm.
finishing it, that's
Mm-hmm.
hard. And so they're thinking and feeling. So nines tend to either be, some nines are more on the thinking side and can look kind of five-ish.
Mm-hmm.
And then some nines are more on the feeling side.
Mm-hmm.
But doing can be their hard thing. So like with your friend, it's like, I'm not going to make any decisions or make any promises that I'm going to have to deal with later. The doing, if I just leave the doing to the last minute, there's no disruption, you
Yeah.
know? And so for nines, I mean, if you have a kid who's a 4 or a 7, who's just like big, or an 8, like intense, like lots of emotions, as a parent, that can feel really threatening. Like, hey, kid, you got to chill the heck down,
Yeah.
because my binoculars are being chill and peaceful is the most important thing.
Geez,
And
that's so hard for a 9 parent
yes,
to have any kid who's not a 9, almost in some
yeah.
ways.
I mean,
Well,
it's
a
and
2 would be really helpful to a 9, probably, like that
well,
energy. But
it's
yeah.
interesting because twos and nines. I will out myself. I'm also a 2. I test as a 9, really close, a 2 and
Mm,
a 9. And I have a 9 son.
mhm,
And so a dynamic with twos and nines is that micromanaging, because nines are so kind of open
mhm,
hearted and open
mhm.
and peaceful people. So they're like, sure, I'll take the help, and it's like,
Yes. Oh my God,
so
that's so
that
funny.
relationship is the twos overdoing and the nines
Oh my
underdoing.
God, that cannot describe my relationship with Lincoln better and how, as he's in college now, but
Uh-huh.
just how much I've had to allow for
Mm-hmm.
him. I mean, for years now, learning to like let him flounder, let him fail, not doing reminding, not doing rescuing. It's been a big part of the journey
Mm-hmm.
for me, but it is still such a challenge to not message him or remind him about things. And
Mm.
he, unlike my other son, who's like, I know enough. Like, don't
Yeah,
tell
leave me
me.
alone.
Yeah, like he almost feels like insulted if I'm like,
Yes.
did you remember to do this? He just gets very upset. But my other
Mm-hmm.
one's like, almost like, yeah, thanks. Yeah, I'll go do that now. Good idea.
Right. Yeah.
But then
then
there's
we
a
kind of,
dependence on that.
yes. And
Mm-hmm.
then am I getting my pride out of that? You know, it's like there's so many
Yeah.
layers to look at, but
Oh, it's so great. Well, TJ, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We went a
yeah.
little bit longer than I thought, but I was such a good conversation. I was like, we're in it. We're going.
Yeah,
Um,
there's so much to talk about.
we could talk like for 5 hours straight. I mean, it's
Oh
just
yeah.
so fascinating, all of it.
Mhm.
I did want to give you an opportunity to say your warning about typing your kids, just
Mhm.
how we listened to this podcast episode. We've talked a little
Yes.
bit about our children's type and yeah, just speak to that for a sec, please.
Yeah, I think knowing yourself is the top priority. And that will give you that compassion for your kids. But you never want to type anyone, you know, your partner, your friends, your mother, like you might gain some insights into like, oh, they're more fearful, or oh, they're super dominant, or oh, they never express their opinion. But those behaviors don't mean that that's who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do that, it's harmful in a lot of ways. You're telling somebody, oh, you're such a 7. And they're like, what are you talking about? And they don't know the Enneagram. And now you have this secret insight on them that they don't know themselves. Like that feels really yucky. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's
Mm-hmm.
really a bad feeling. And also not to rob your child of that journey of self discovery.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I think that there are some beautiful ways that we can, as we learn about the Enneagram, bring it into our families without saying you are a blank
right.
and you need this. It's more
Mhm.
curiosity, like, does
Right.
does seeing it from this lens help you or this lens? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. If you have a kid who's needs to ask a bunch of questions before you go somewhere, like, well, who's going to be there? Is there going to be
Mm-hmm.
dinner? Should I bring my bathing suit? Like, what time are we going to be back? And some parents are just kind of like, okay, just trust me. Like, why are you asking me so many questions? Or like,
Mm-hmm.
why do you have to know? Why can't you just go with the flow? Why can't you just be
Mm-hmm.
open? So that's one view versus I'm not saying this kid's a Enneagram 6, but
Mm-hmm.
like maybe to feel secure, they need information. So maybe next time before we go somewhere, I'll be like, hey, you might want to bring a book to read because we're going to have downtime, or you might want to, you know, just, I know that with this kid, they want to know what's happening before we go.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so the Enneagram just gives us like a framework to understanding all those different viewpoints.
So I love that. Yeah, we're not typing our kids, but we can use it as a curiosity tool of like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I wonder if they need more information and if that
Mm-hmm.
would help them. Or I wonder if they need to be told, I see you. Thank you. You're really
Right.
helpful. Or you're right. You do know. You do see. You're right. Like some kids need to be
Yeah.
told, you're right. Like I don't necessarily know why, but if you kind of find these soothing phrases, it can
Mm-hmm.
lower the nervous system, make that body feel safe, and then can
Mm-hmm.
be kind of coached through to maybe a different framework or different thought. So, well,
Mm-hmm.
tell everyone how
Yep.
to get in touch with you because I'm sure everyone's like, what? She does classes? What's happening? I want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got I'm on Instagram, growing
Oh,
with the
your Instagram is
Enneagram.
so great. You guys have
Oh,
to
thank
go.
you.
Yeah. Growing with the Enneagram is the
Yep.
handle.
Yep. So I'm doing a yoga and the Enneagram retreat in Pasadena coming up, which we did it back in the spring. I partner with my friend as a yoga teacher, and we actually do it through the Enneagram stances. So that's going to be a Saturday morning coming up in November. So that's really
Say the
fun.
date because this will come out before that. So November.
Yeah, November 4th in
Okay.
Pasadena, and all the details are on my website, on my Instagram, tjteams.com.
We'll
That's
link
my
that in the show
website.
notes.
Yeah. And yeah, so I do private coaching or custom small groups. If you have a group of friends and you want to say, hey, specifically, like, let's do a 3-week parenting class with my group of
Mhm.
6 friends or whatever. I just love meeting people and working with people and teaching. It's really
Mhm.
fun.
Oh,
And I do
good.
one-on-one coaching as well.
Wonderful. Well, I'm
Yeah.
so grateful for your time. Thank you. Yeah, for all you mamas listening, I always give them a little like thing to work on or take away. I invite you to go to the Enneagram Institute and take the test. It's $12 and find out a little bit more about yourselves, just read about each number. Use this as a tool to get to know yourselves. That's the invitation. So, thanks for listening and I will talk to you next week. Hey, Mama, if you enjoyed this podcast episode, I want to encourage you to do two things. The first is go to my website, calmmamacoaching.com, and get a copy of the Stop Yelling cheat sheet. You'll get a step-by-step breakdown of the most important tool I teach, which is the pause break. And you'll also get 40 ideas to reset your body and balance your nervous system so you don't have to yell at your kids. You can get a copy of that, again, at my website, calmmamacoaching.com/stop yelling. The other thing I'd love for you to do is go to Apple Podcasts and rate and review this podcast so that other moms can discover empowering and helpful, practical parenting strategies, just like you did today. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. It means a lot to be in your ear every week and to support you on your parenting journey.